Now what you want to do is to introduce your idea with a story. Right? So let me say I caption this the five levels of relationships. The 5 levels of relationships. So what I want to do is I don't just want to start saying anything that comes to your head. You want to structure it in a way that will get the reader interested first in you before anything else. So to start, I'm going to say when it's also something like 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I found myself in a strange land. In a strange land, and I had no place to stay. It was so terrible that I had to sleep in a common room on a couch on a chair, and in the cold nights rats jumped on me. You know, just explain your pain, explain your pains to so your readers can really connect with you, right? To know, like, just explain your story and possible things that you encounter. Say start with a story, right? Start with a story. Always introduce your ideas with a story. That's the hook. That's what gets the reader interested in what you are saying. After you have gotten them hooked with why this whole relationship thing is important, like you can now start saying things like it was then I realized that there were levels to relationships, and that we need to carefully transition, like, or step up in these hierarchies. Now the thing is, like, this is where you like this may not be the particular stuff I'm going to use, but I just wanted you to see how it works. Like from there you can now start introducing the hierarchies. They said we all start out as strangers. Even our parents are aliens when we were born. We had to slowly come to identify, or like to know them, basically know them. So the problem is many people don't know that. Like you just explain, you find a way to inject your story into your writing. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a way to transition from my story into the levels of relationships, right? Now this is also the point where something very very important should happen. the hook, it's not just the story. There should be a big promise here. This is what will force them to read it. This promise could be something like, I promise that, like, after reading this, your relationships would improve 10 times, 10 folds. Like, you promise that they would now realize who to stick closer to who to cut off, who to pay attention to, right? Who to pay attention to, who to ignore. Because you cannot be paying attention to every stranger or people with different interests as you, right? It's people who have the same interests that you have to pay attention to, because two of you are the ones that are heading to different places, right? And there should be people that are going to make sacrifices for. Not just go and make sacrifices for total strangers. They don't really know you. Understand? So that you have to consider maybe these people that are part of me, these are people that deserve more of my time and stuffs like that. So it's just about priorities to know those who you'll be dedicated to. So this is place you have to make that big promise. Like how this is going to actually help them, what this thing they are reading, how it's going to be of benefit to them. Then after writing, this is where you make the promise. Doesn't mean you deliver it here. This is the place where you have to deliver your promise. Because if you cannot deliver it here, because there's no these informations are not there for you to really tell them what to do, right? They don't have this information, so you cannot tell them how to do it. So they need this information for you to be able to deliver your promise. You want to make sure you deliver your promise. Delivering your promise doesn't mean you start giving people instruction to do this, do that. Sometimes it may just be in the form of suggestions, right? Ideas. Sometimes it may even be in form of questions to help them break down false and limiting beliefs, right? But you just have to make them see what the whole point was. So that is how you write. You deliver your promises and you make them see the big picture. But if without getting this story part and this big promise, then no one will listen to you. You cannot just start with this big promise. It will just seem like scam. Just like telling somebody you're going to make money today, you're going to buy a car, you're going to get married today. Like it doesn't connect. Surely there's a promise, but it doesn't really connect. When you start with I used to be single, or I used to be broke, or I used to be very sick, and then you explain, and then you say, I promise that after reading this you are going to be like me, right? This thing that I promise that and I have now become, this is what it's going to be. So this place is very essential. And this is what will now force them to read your big idea about strangers and the whole concept. And then this is where you now probably okay, let me say this is the caution or more like instructions of what to do, right? But this place, just try not to be too domineering, like to impose your own ideas on the people. So that is how it works. Then after this place, you deliver your promise. I've just spoken about this. Then you make them see. Then you can thank them for reading, and if you ask them to engage, to leave a like, comment, or share. So that is how it usually works. So let me call this place request. So it's quite simple and straightforward, right? So that is how you write. So if we are going to break this down, the major parts now are the major things you are going to write about now are your caption. Your caption. This is the most important part. If no one reads your caption, nobody is reading what you wrote. Right? If nobody reads your caption, nobody is reading what you wrote. This is the most important part. Your caption. I will give you tools like websites that you can use to analyze your caption and make sure that they are very captivating. Example of a very good caption will be one of my blog posts, which I said how to make girls beg to be with you forever. Right? This caption is just insane. Like if you're a single guy, this would definitely grab your attention. I also saw a caption in a book which says how to trap your man and keep him. Right? This also gets somebody attention. Then if you have something like there's another book, how to win friends and influence people. Right? There is you must have noticed this in book captions. You must have noticed this in book captions. We can have which book? Which just think of any book. The richest man in Babylon, for example. Right? All these things they have these power ways that will just capture your attention. When you see riches, you know, wow, this person has knowledge in riches. When you talk about win friends, it tells you, okay, I want to make friends, Someone talks about making girls beg. It's actually a blog post. You can go to my website and visit and see it, right? So that is it. The second thing that you want to consider is the story. This is very important. This is what makes the reader connect with you. Understand? If connect with you, the thing you have to be cautious not to don't over don't overshare. Like I'm not talking about if you hide about. I mean like don't just go on talking about yourself. Right? You will just bore people out. When you are talking about yourself, you have to talk about yourself in a way. You have to talk about yourself in a way that the reader would connect in a way that affects them. Like if you're talking about relationships now, you should be talking about your relationship, how you suffer. You should not be talking about the color of the shirt you shirt to wear. You don't just talk and start indulging yourself. Don't start oversharing what is not necessary. You should talk about what concerns the reader, right? So it connects with the reader, something that they can relate to, right? That's what you have to talk about. Then after that, you have to now consider making a promise, right? Make a promise that this is what it will help them do, get them hooked. Then after this promise could be how to, like if you this is this captions most times carry this promise too. Understand? But maybe in this place you cannot elaborate like within within the next within the next within the next 30 minutes, right, or 20 minutes. 20 minutes I would reveal to you how to drastically improve your finances within 3 months from the comfort of your home without probably without working or just something. But you see, just make this kind of crazy promise, and so that will get them hooked. Now everybody's not interested to read about your big idea. This is where you not talk about the article proper, the body of your writing, what you want to write about. You now start talking your big idea, and secrets, everything. So after you finish explaining the whole concept, and now you know the reader will read the readers are now conversant with your idea, right? They're now conversant with your idea, and they now know your jargons. Yes, and they now know your jargons and the rest. So after that you can now do what? Deliver your promise, right? Deliver your promise. This is the last part and very important part. Now if you are doing something like a blog article, now you can just deliver your promise, and the readers, then what you can do is now probably request them to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stuff like that, right? That's where you now do that. But if maybe you are writing a sales letter, it's probably the same thing, just the same flow, right? But when you are writing a sales letter, you don't deliver on your promise. When you're writing a sales letter, this is where you tell them to do what? So I tell them to buy now, right? If you are doing a sales letter, this is where you tell them to buy now. That is it, because now you have given the caption, made them the promise, explained the whole idea to them. Now you're telling them, buy this my stuff now, buy it, because that is what is going to deliver the promise to you. That is what will deliver the promise to you. If you use this cream, if you buy this product or whatever it is, it's going to deliver the product to you, right? So that is how writing works. Writing is very very crazy. I'm teaching you copywriting now. Don't worry, I'm going to give you links to some useful tools that you're going to use to drastically improve your writing. So that is how we usually work. So let me say about my article now. If I'm going to continue with my article, then I'll just talk about my whole story of how uh, I met a friend and started having had the handshake like handshake. But then I realized that there is a difference, like a huge difference between shaking hands and kissing, right? So you start talking about how you started moving from just strangers who shook hands to the part where I say they are now part of you, as of people who you can now bury your mouth into theirs, right? So that is how it usually works. I can't find my documents. Okay, so I think that will be all for now. Right? That is the writing process. I'll reveal to you tools that you would use to drastically improve your writing.